ba, 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 ba. How do you feel that last one? Was that good?
Oh, the last episode.
I feel like I
Yeah.
talked a lot.
Yeah, I
which
mean,
is
I
obviously
think
the
that's
point.
what made it a bit easier.
Okay, good.
So with this episode then, Rien Macdonald, we've got you back for another one. How good is that?
Good. It's almost like we haven't moved.
Yeah. Hey.
Don't give away the secrets.
Well, it takes a little bit of time to set up all this stuff, so we're trying to make the most of it.
It does. No, batch editing, batch recording. It's the way to go.
And I think we're just riffing off some good conversation, so we're just going to keep it rolling.
Yeah, man.
So this episode, I want to talk a little bit about what my journey has been like starting a podcast, because you've been. I don't think I would be able to do this without you. Like I mean, I didn't even know what a podcast was before I met you, really. So I mean, hats off to you in helping me out.
You're welcome, man. Glad me existing has helped you unlock this new skill. But no, I think you've led with your curiosity, and excited to hear about how it's come to be. Even though I feel like I know certain parts, but I'm sure there's been more to it. So let's unpack.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, so who's hosting this one? Am I hosting, or maybe you have to kick me off with some questions? I would like to give you the reins with all your expertise in hosting well over 145 episodes of podcasts. I think it's better if you ask me a few questions this time.
Appreciate it, man. Well, thank you for having me on, and thank you for giving me the duty of that. I guess, we started working together back. It was only last year, so a bit over a year ago now. But
it seems like a long time ago.
It does.
But I mean, a year and a half ago, that was when we met for the first time.
Yeah, which is awesome, and I think that's partly why I think podcasting is so great, is because you've been a guest 2 times now, and we've obviously had a lot of conversations outside of those 2 recordings, but you go quite deep when you have a podcast conversation, certainly a long form one. We're doing some of these episodes which will be much shorter, but with a very specific purpose. But I guess for you, why did you want to start a podcast outside of the video work that you do?
Yeah, well, excellent question, because I'm still not 100% sure why I started. But I think really the main thing is obviously you've got short form content on TikTok, Instagram. Then there's the YouTube videos and stuff that I do as well. But I wanted somewhere where I could actually, go a little bit deeper and document sort of a bit more of my, methods, thoughts, feelings, which doesn't really cater for like a shorter form, little short on Instagram, or, even, and doesn't really suit the typical style of YouTube videos I've been making. So that's why I decided that it'd be good to do a podcast where I can actually sit down and talk, which would actually help that skill as well, because I've never been much of a good talker. So I really just want to practice, my storytelling skills, and just conversation skills really, and just sort of putting myself in the spotlight to, also document my journey along the way.
Yeah. Could you share more, like, what do you mean by I've never really been a good talker? Because you're talking, and no doubt you've talked.
Yes.
Your whole life.
Well, I mean, I've always just been a bit of a shy kid growing up. I guess probably moving to America and college sort of changed that a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
But I think, naturally I'm just I'm happy to be by myself, like just as an introvert. But like I definitely do love, and I do need connection with other people. And I just find, to be the best version of myself, that does require to be a good communicator, a good talker. And so that's why I want to practice those skills.
Love it, man. Well, this will definitely help you with that. We mentioned on a previous episode, but like last night, you were recording the intro for one of your episodes, and it took a few takes to do. I know that for me, when I first started, similar thing, I would take, sometimes 10 takes on an intro that would go for 60 seconds. But I think just through the practice of doing it, you will get better. So for you, what part of this has been most daunting, and then how have you overcome that?
Well, just the fact that you don't have a script and you can't go and edit later on. I'm finding that extremely difficult to speak off the cuff, and I mean, really just string words together, string thoughts together in a cohesive way that kind of makes sense. Because I'm used to, this last year in particular, I've been doing a lot of scripting, and even not necessarily scripting, but thinking a lot about like what I would say for reels that I put on Instagram or TikTok, and even YouTube videos as well when I'm vlogging.
Mm.
But being just thrown in the deep end and just having to talk and sort of think about who your audience is that you're talking to, as well as maybe the guests you're talking to, and how you can kind of have an interesting conversation that people can find value in. There you go. I'm just kind of, the train just sort of run out of tracks now. I'm just sort of going on, but that's exactly the point. Is I'm finding that extremely challenging, but by doing it, I know that I'll get better at it.
Yeah. Is there anything you can compare that to in the world of video, which is something that you've spent a few more years doing at this point? Was there anything when you started editing video that you really struggled with?
Well, I mean, talking to camera, I'm not saying that I'm good at talking to camera now, but, we'd say, oh, last night it took me, 30 takes to get that intro of the podcast, which is a little bit different to maybe, doing a scripted YouTube video or something like that. But just even like staring into that black dark hole of the lens, the judgmental lens, it is a difficult skill to have. I'm not going to say I'm super great at it now, because I think there's still a lot of room of improvement. But that, when I started off, I couldn't even put 2 words together. I'd look at the thing and I'd just go completely blank. So at least now I can talk a little bit.
And did that change a lot in the 100 reels and 100 days that you did?
Yeah, just through that practice, I actually grew to love it. Actually, it's super good fun to. I mean, I guess because you can look at it different ways. You can say, oh, you can view it as someone, sort of maybe pretending that they're, and being a little bit inauthentic. But I think quite the opposite. You're almost presenting how you want to present, and that kind of, I guess that's a little bit hard to explain, but presenting how you want to present, and then, I don't know, I'm just going completely blank now. But here we go. That's why we're podcasting.
That's why we're here. Well, one thing that I thought of was, in terms of like the shipping of the episodes, you're going to work the muscle so much. And I realize a reel a day is a huge amount of volume. But one thing that I sort of did in helping you set this up was that simple spreadsheet of like, cool, let's just put the dates in. Let's put the episode number in, the guest name. And like, you start to get a sense of like how this is going to come to be. And it's a visual thing. I'm very much a fan of like putting things down in paper, albeit that spreadsheet was on the computer. But it's like, when you start to do that, it becomes a bit more tangible. So I don't know by the end of this year how many episodes you have, but I think it's roughly going to be about 50.
Yeah, I haven't completely mapped it out yet, but I think we did work out it was about 50 or 60.
Yeah, which is pretty cool. Now, obviously, you haven't recorded all of them, and you've got to obviously do the work. It's not just going to magically happen because you put some dates and some numbers on an Excel spreadsheet. But that idea was something that you were even just like, wow, that's like so much value. Like, we would be able to, provide that for others to help them as just a point of, from a business point of view, for example. But what was maybe some of the other things that have helped from what I've been able to do, and maybe there's been others that you've picked things up. I'm certainly not here to claim 100% of the influence in you becoming a podcaster.
Oh, I mean, you can. But yeah, I mean, it doesn't seem like it's a hard thing. Like, you just set up a couple of mics and talk, right? But then I think as I've gone to do it, and we've had a discussion off the recording about this, is just even the introduction of an episode I find so difficult, because you don't know who you're talking to. And then you have to sort of draw people in who are maybe not too familiar with the podcast, and then connect it to what the episode is about. So, I mean, I remember after I recorded my first couple of episodes of Back to College, we sat down and I asked you, like, well, how do I do things a little bit better? And I think instead of throwing my friends, a curveball to begin with, I would just start them with a very nice, simple welcome, and then ask a simple question from there, instead of trying to overwhelm the guest.
Yeah.
So that by itself has been really good. The scheduling has been amazing. Just that Excel spreadsheet, again, seems super simple, but I had no idea how to do that. And I think after, mapping out that I'm going to be releasing 3 episodes a week, that's already made me so much more organized as well. And like, I guess that's doing 100 reels, 100 days. I just knew that every day I would have to do a reel, but now I have to, plan when I'm going to record my episodes, when they're going to be edited,
Mm-hmm.
and then when they're going to be uploaded, so they're all ready to go for the release date.
Yeah, it's good, man. I think, like I said, putting something on the calendar, essentially having that there as something that will hold you to account. 3 episodes a week for a podcast is a lot of work. So you've got to put in that work to be able to have that output, but you're clearly capable of it. And yeah, no doubt you'll do it because you're a guy that gets things done and follows up with a high quality of work. So I'm excited to see where you take it. I'd be curious to know. We talked a little bit about the 3 structures, but specifically for this one, which I don't know, do you have an official name for?
No, not yet. No idea.
No idea.
No.
I think you do have an idea.
Do I?
I don't want to put the words in your mouth. Come on.
Well, I think I know what you're talking about. But so yeah, and again, like I have just called my podcast the Zach Stevenson podcast because I'm keeping it general and I don't want to pigeon myself right from the get go.
Yep.
And I understand that it's going to take, potentially a few years for this to become something that's, that grows a bit of an audience and a strong platform where people can, share valuable stuff. I'm hoping that's not the case. I'm hoping people can find value straight away, but it will obviously take time to build regardless. So I do have this idea to call the podcast itself The Creator's Journey.
Yep.
Which is sort of a spin-off of the story structure, The Hero's Journey, which is essentially like a 12-part narrative structure that sort of is kind of on the basis of, big movies like Star Wars and all other, not all of them, but tons of other stories throughout time. It's just an effective storytelling method, and I just think that would work really well with. It's almost like saying that my life is just a story as well, and we're going on this creator's journey together.
Mm-hmm.
So it would be both like entertaining and educational. We'll meet people along the way, which is part of finding the what's the word for it? You find I don't know, someone to help you on your quest, for example.
Yeah, right.
And that's sort of how I see, having you on and having other guests on who are the experts, that they can actually help guide and get the creator to the destination that they desire.
Love it, man. So who are some of the creators that you would like to have on?
Well, you're the first one that I wanted to have on, and look, you're the first guest, so that's a good start.
Yep.
And, well, I mean, it's hard because I've thought about this. I think I don't really have a strong answer yet. I mean, there's lots of people I'd like to have conversations with, but at the same time, I feel like, for example, I'd like to talk to Mr. Beast, but then do I have enough value to provide Mr. Beast? Well, no, not yet. Otherwise, he would jump on the podcast straight away. So I guess that's, sure. I'm trying to let it evolve a little bit more before I start to, take out, head towards the big dogs and get them in the chair as well.
Yeah, but you've got other creative friends. Like, what are some of those people? Who are you going to have on?
Well, actually, I spoke to Ali Lerner the other day. He called me about just some help with video podcasting. I like to have him on because we've shot some weddings together. Curtis Reeder, who owns Creed Media, I've done a lot of work with him. He's one of my good mates.
Nice.
He's an absolute weapon. He's been doing work in the school niche for quite some time, which sounds kind of lame, but the videos that he produces are super cinematic and documentary style. There, he's absolute whiz.
Nice.
So he'd be interesting to talk to. Who else? Man, I mean,
those boys in Mr. Beast, huh? It's gonna be a tight party.
I mean, to be honest, I would find it a lot more interesting. Oh, I don't know if I want to say that. Sorry, Mr. Beast, but I'd probably find it a lot more interesting talking to maybe people more at that are doing the sort of things that I'm doing, like the freelance work, and share some of the shoots that we've been on, that sort of thing. Because I mean, lots of other people talk to Mr. Beast. I don't have any questions that I particularly need to ask him because I found out a lot of information that other people who have talked to him.
Yeah.
And it's all about making good video and a good thumbnail. So like that's all the information I need off him. I'm trying my best to do that.
Nice.
I'd also like to talk to Alex Mione. We went to the same high school together. He was the year above me, and he was kind of one of the people that I saw before I started getting into video. He was, a lifestyle content creator who was, traveling around. He was taking awesome photos. It was still a little bit before the video stuff. But yeah, I saw his work and I was like, hey, that's, something that I'd like to do.
Yep.
And I've been doing a lot of work with him over the last couple of years, just, whether it's some editing or we go on shoots together. We've done some working with some really cool clients, and he'd be a great one to have on as well.
Love it, man. Well, I'm excited to see where it goes. All of those boys, and maybe Mr. Beast. You don't need to apologize to him. He'd be lucky to be on the podcast at some point, no doubt. So excited to see where you take it, bro. Anything else you want to say before we wrap this one up?
I don't know. Do I have to take back the hosting reins now?
Here you go.
All right, thank you. Well, Rin, yeah, see, I don't even know how to do that.
Well, I handballed it back, and you did some weird like a box. Was that a basketball? Are you like taking the ball off the ref?
I don't know what it is. I'm just holding it like it's a a tray of hot lasagna.
Try hot lasagna, whatever. I mean, let's just wrap the show here. See you later.
All right, see you.
Done.